to Caribbean Rum Chronicles. I'm trying to get a good position. So, oh, you can see me. I don't like that view. How can I change? Oh, that's better.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works better, doesn't it? Oh, you get the same view as I get. Is that right?
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome all to episode number 5, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Caribbean Rum Chronicles, and the studio looks a little bare with my co-host today, but Mark said he will be joining us. Manny may join us, but I think a lot of you are aware that the ease of lockdown has changed a number of things in the working world. Hi, Keegan. So bars opened yesterday, so Manny is at work, and he is going to try and take a break from work and log on, but I'm not sure how good the internet connection is at work, so he may have problems in that respect. But the three of us are here, and
yes,
we can talk you through today's episode. Firstly, I would like to dedicate today's episode to my brother who left us over a year ago, but today is his birthday. So today's episode I dedicate to him, and although he was not a rum drinker, he inherited the love of cognac from our mother. I inherited the love of rum from Dad. Derek did love his cognac, but I'd occasionally notice that my rum collection would dwindle when I wasn't home, and I eventually asked him, "What happened to all that rum?" "Oh, you know, I had to have a sip, and it wasn't bad." And I went, "What do you mean it wasn't bad? You finished it." So he did appreciate his fine spirit. So bless Derek. And as I said, today's is dedicated to him.
Well, so cheers to him then.
Yeah, and I will get a drink in a moment. But just to get back to today's episode, which is limited releases of the English Caribbean. We had initially started off to do limited releases of all of the Caribbean, and then the list just got longer and longer and longer and longer. So we thought we'd have to break it up into different sessions. So we'll do the French Caribbean, the Spanish Caribbean, and the Dutch Caribbean, and different episodes. So
can you hear me? Because my Wi-Fi is giving problems.
So Elizabeth, you went in and
I can't see. My Wi-Fi is buffering. Yeah, I'm going to switch my Wi-Fi off. I'm so sorry, but I think it seems to be giving me some problems. I'm just going to reboot the.
No problem.
Yeah,
we'll wait. Yeah. So what we plan to do today is we are going to talk about the English Caribbean. The particular territories that we're going to be looking at are Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Antigua, and Guyana. This list is obviously not, can never be the complete list because there's only so much we know and so much we can research. So hello, Meredith. Hello, Eric, Clive. Pleasure to have you with us. And there's only so much we can research. So one of the things that we are excited about today is learning from you guys, you viewers who have been supporting us right through the start of the series. Today's episode is really all about you guys, so that we can find out a little bit more of what we've missed off, what you think of certain expressions, because obviously the list is quite extensive. We haven't tasted all of them, and so we'd like to have opinions, criticism, constructive criticism. If you feel, I'm not saying that all of them are rums that everybody likes, but these are limited releases. And as I've said, there's a lot of respect to the staff and the blenders and the distillers who really put out a lot of limited releases in order to show the creativity and the innovation of the distillery. Welcome, Mark.
Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Mark. And I'm particularly interested in finding out of a few of the rums that we have in our selections who have actually tried them. There's three in particular. I'd like to know from the audience that are watching, that are viewing, if they personally have particularly tried that rum and what they think of those. So
I I have a suspicion it's the ones that cost a hell of a lot of money.
How did you guess, Roger? How did you guess?
So I have that suspicion it's the ones that cost a hell of a lot of money. So yes, so we do have a wide selection of rums. Now, some of these rums, let me explain a little bit more. Some of these rums will no longer be available. Many of these rums will no longer be available. So obviously we will talk a little bit about them. We have tasting notes on a number of the rums. Maybe most of the rums we have tasting notes on.
We have on most of them, yes.
Some are official tasting notes, and some are tasting notes from reviewers. And there's a number of reviewers that I have. People like Steve James, the Rum Diaries, and Wes Burge, the Fat Rum Pirate, and a number of other reviewers that we have looked at your tasting notes and sort of garnished off. So, and as you know, tasting notes, whether official or whether by reviewer, is a matter of opinion. What you taste or what you think of that particular rum is personal opinion, and those are the things we want to hear from you guys, and listen to what you think of a rum and so forth. As I've said, the list is if there are things missing off the list that you believe that I'm just adding back. Welcome back. Hopefully that's better, Lizette.
Yeah, you did.
There is information that maybe not that we have on our list that you think we've missed something out, something needs correcting. So this is all about you guys. Hello, Jim. Hello, Darren.
Darren, welcome. Jim,
so this is about you guys, just so that you have we can hear from you guys and get some information. So please get your fingers working when we start presenting the different rums and talking about the rums, and then we can hopefully get a lot of you who are collectors. And the good thing about the information today is for a number of rum collectors out there, hopefully we can give you a little bit of education as well for things that you didn't know existed, or things that you may actually hunt down and maybe find a bottle hidden in some store, hidden in in your travels. Maybe you might find it on an auction site. Sometimes you actually find some bottles in a shop that you just thought, oh my goodness, they have no idea what they've got, and sometimes even priced. I mean, and sometimes even not even that. I picked up my bottles of Appleton 30-year-old, which is the first edition. I only picked them up about 3 bottles about 3 or 4 years ago, because I found them in a shop in the Caribbean. And I paid the normal price for them. And I was very good friends with the shop owner, Lisa. I hope Lisa's tuning in today. And I said, Lisa, you know, these have really gone up in value. They're discontinued. I mean, you know, you sure you want to sell them to me? She says, listen, that's the price of them. If you want them, you pay for them. And because I knew they were worth more. And she says, furthermore, Roger, I know you're not buying them to flip them. I know you're buying them to enjoy them. So I'm more than happy. I make my money because I priced it to make my money, and you're going to take it away and enjoy it. So you can be surprised on what you can still find in distilleries, in your travels. And unfortunately, the rum auctions have now started to get very wise on the prices of rum. So the days when you could pick up a bottle of rum very cheaply probably well gone on these auction sites. And
now, of those bottles you've purchased, Roger, do you still have them? Still have some left, or are they all? No.
Still, are you trying to invite yourself round to my house?
Well, you know, I mean, you're speaking about them. No, it's on the palate now. You want to try them.
And in fact, I was privileged enough last year to get invited by a gentleman that I have a lot of respect for. We've spent time together where I can consider him a friend, and I think he would say the same about me. One of the most famous rum collectors in the world, a man called Steve Remsburg. And he took me to lunch while I was in New Orleans, where he lives. And he invited me around his house to taste some of his rums. And The collection is to die for. It is unbelievable. He has some of the most, put it this way, he has rums that when Richard Seale and Joyce Spence went to his house, he presented rums from their own heritage and distillery that they had never tasted.
Wow, that's
right. Cool. So, so there. This is how you get an understanding of his collection. And when you ask him how did he acquire these, he said, I started about 30, 40 years ago, and I was buying them, picking them up for $15 a bottle. Rums now that are worth thousands and thousands of pounds, and because nobody collected rums back then. He said, I found a lot of them on eBay, and people were just selling off these old bottles of rums because they didn't want them, and he just bought them. So you'll be surprised where you can find rums these days. So so let's get cracking. Let us. They're in no particular order, but today we're gonna start off with Jamaica, and
no particular order.
No particular order.
Start with Jamaica. Yeah.
We're going to start off with Jamaica. Sadly, Lizette, I couldn't find any limited releases out of Grenada, so I haven't included.
I've got one in my pocket that I'm going to show.
Okay, well, good. I'm pleased to know that you said.
You see why we have inter-island issues? You always you want to bring up your thing and nobody else's thing. Why?
Well, you understand.
I have.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Yeah, but so okay. Well, let us put them in order. You know, we have alphabetical order in life where things are presented to show unbiased. We have chronological order where things are based on time. And then we have Big Island order.
Well done.
All right.
We have Big Island order. So we'll start off with the Big Island and work our way down to the little ones.
Okay, you got it. You won.
And if I said chronological order, then Miguel would come online and tell me off, because obviously that would mean I'd have to put Barbados first.
Exactly.
But Jamaica, we're going to start off with a little quick history of just a very short thing. Is that Jamaica was colonized by.
Keegan says, and you have Rogers order.
And you have Rogers order, yes. So Jamaica was initially colonized, discovered by Christopher Columbus, 1493. The Spanish remained until 1655 when the British took it off the Spanish. And it became a powerhouse in rum production back then. I mean, Barbados was the powerhouse before that, but Jamaica, being of a larger size than Barbados, was able to produce far greater quantities, and it did become a powerhouse in rum production. Was one of the largest rum producers for a considerable period of time in the world at that time. And in 1655, the Cromwell gave the estate known as Nassau Valley to a man called Francis Dickinson, and that estate is where Appleton resides. And if you want a little bit of history, if you can ever have an opportunity to read the Dickinson papers, which is obviously named after the man it was given to, Francis Dickinson, it gives you a little bit of history into rum production dating back to those eras in 1655. So rum has been produced on the island for a long time, but the Appleton estate was registered in 1749, and it is the second oldest registered rum distillery in the world, and it's been in continuous operation since that time. And they currently operate with two distilleries, the one at Nassau Valley and one at New Yarmouth. And there are other estates which we'll come to, but we'll start off with Appleton. I now need to share a screen so we can start off by presenting. Before I share it, I need to provide a product. Let's go share screen, and let's put that one in, and let's go share. Right, we have a share screen, but everybody knows Appleton rums. I mean, guys, while I'm looking for the first image of the first rum to present, talk to me. What do you think of Appleton rums?
Oh, they're fantastic.
I was gonna say it took me a little while to. I was just telling Roger earlier. It did take me a little while to get interested in Jamaican rum. To be fair, but I think Appleton, Smith and Cross probably was the first rum that I had from Jamaica that I really liked, and then I believe it was probably at Trailer. There was like an Appleton. I think there might have been a tasting of some sort, and I think I tried. Maybe it was Appleton 12 at the time. Was there an Appleton 12 at one point? I know that they've changed their functions.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. There still is.
Right. I think I tried that, and then I was like, okay. After having Smith and Cross making me want to get in to learn a little more about Jamaican rum as a style, and then I tried Appleton 12 and thought, actually, this is actually quite nice, and obviously, have then delved a bit more into it. So I do quite like the product, and I think Joy Spencer's I've seen her speak once. I think she's a lovely lady, and obviously very, very good at her job, and quite passionate about rum as a spirit. So
And I think we ought to mention that Joy Spence, who is the master blender of the Appleton estate for well over 20 years, is actually the first female master blender, not just for rum, but of all categories in the world. And she is not just very good at her job; she's exceptional at her job. So this is not a token gesture. This is somebody who's there on merit, and this is somebody who could knock the socks off most master blenders in the world in terms of her skills and ability and knowledge. So some of these rums, most of these rums actually would have been, I think that I've got on my list, would have been created under her tenure, because the first one, which is on your screen now, which I presented, was in 1999, and that was Joy had already taken over from the previous master blender, Owen Tulloch, and this rum was this one on your screen, which was in commemoration in 1999 of the 250th anniversary of Appleton. And I, like an idiot, did not buy one at the time when it was released, because you always think that I'll get it the next time. I'll get it the next time, and unfortunately, quite often the next time, when the next time happens, it's run out. So this was the 250th anniversary. Keegan said it's very good for the price. And this was the beginning of the Appleton, sort of early Appleton estate limited releases, because prior to that there are a number of limited rums, but a lot of them were under the Ray, as we know, the Ray and Nephew name, like the 17-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 8-year-old, which I have a bottle of the 8-year-old. I wish I had a bottle of the other two. But as you can see, with Appleton here, you can see presentation now became very important in terms of, if you're going to sell a premium product, what you are able to put out there. So nice little wooden box, unusual shaped bottle, which pretty much it was not a standard style bottle for Appleton at the time, and apparently in terms of age, let's have a look, see if there's any information. I have no tasting notes. There was only 6,000 bottles produced at an ABV of 43%. I have no tasting notes. So if anybody comes along on the group and can tell us that they've tasted it, we will wait.
Keegan's saying that well, he has regrets. I guess maybe he has regrets of not buying it, or because when he said very good for the price, then he
said very good for the price before he presented.
And then he said he has regrets. So
yeah.
I think he means by he hasn't bought one, or he didn't buy it at the time. Maybe.
I think I tasted it, but I think I did when it was released in Jamaica. I think I tasted it, but if I have, it would have been that long ago, and I have no recollection of what it tastes like. So I can't comment. But the next one on the list which was released somewhere between 2006, 2009. I have tasted, and I still have 2 bottles at home because it is one of the rums that I consider one of my favorites, and it's this one here. Now, the Master Blender's Legacy was released, as I've said, in order to commemorate the 3 master blenders of the era. So it was the previous one, Owen Tuller, Joyce Spence, the current one, and the current protege, as he's described, which was David Morrison. And the sort of, so it was really something to commemorate them. And it was a blend of rums, which the youngest was 18-year-old. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was very difficult to source outside of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever exported. So Keegan's not saying we all have regrets. Yeah, only in rum, Keegan. That's the only regrets I ever have. Only in rum, either finishing the bottle or not buying it in the first place. But as you can see with the Master Blender's Legacy, this was also the bottle and the packaging was synonymous with the style of rums that Appleton began to produce in those days in terms of that curvaceous bottle. Did you know that curvaceous bottle, does anybody know where that design came from? No,
most of the bottles are like that, right? So
the old,
yeah,
they've changed recently.
Yeah, the old. I don't know. That one I don't know.
It is actually rumored that it was almost to commemorate the curvaceous nature of Jamaican women.
Oh, really? Wow.
And hence why the bottle was designed that way. So I was going to say that